Hi, everyone. Thanks for joining us here on CBS News 24/7. I'm Lindsay Reiser. The judge in former President Donald Trump's New York criminal case has delayed his sentencing until after the presidential election. Judge Juan Merchan has moved the date to November 26th. Trump has tried to delay this twice since his conviction on 34 felony counts of falsifying business records in May. He was originally scheduled to be sentenced on July 11th. That was pushed back to next week, September 18th, and now pushed back again to late November. Graham Cates and Katrina Kaufman join us now. Graham is a CBS News investigative reporter. Katrina is a CBS News campaign reporter and attorney. Graham, what reasons did the judge give for delaying this until after the election?
Look, he said that the election was an important piece of his thinking with regards to this decision. He said he didn't want anyone to be able to say that whatever sentence he gives, if he does give a sentence, was designed in some way to help either of the parties in the election. He said even if that criticism would have been unwarranted, he wants to avoid it. And so really, as he has throughout this entire case, going back to the arraignment in 2023, he's made clear that the fact that Trump is a former president running for president again is part of his consideration when making decisions like this.
So, Katrina, the judge wrote, and I'm going to read a quote here, that the, quote, adjourning decision on the motion and sentencing, if such is required, should dispel any suggestion that the court will have issued any decision or imposed sentence, either to give an advantage to or to create a disadvantage for any political party and for any candidate for any office, akin to what Graham was just saying. That said, we know Trump, as recently as today, has blasted the Department of Justice, many of the judges involved in his legal cases, and a reaction from Trump's team yet.
About the sentencing, you're saying?
Correct. Has there been any response yet from his team?
I haven't seen the response from Trump's legal team yet, but I was at this press conference with Trump today where he was both riled up about the E. Jean Carroll case, which there was a hearing about earlier today, but just generally lambasting all of these cases against him, tying them all to the Department of Justice, even, of course, the civil cases in New York, which do not derive from the Department of Justice, and the Georgia case as well. But with the delay of this sentencing, Trump has really shown that the strategy has been extremely successful for his team. At one point, we thought there would have been 4 trials before this election. Now we, of course, do have the guilty verdict in that New York criminal case, but we're not going to get a sentencing until after the election, and the judge is still also going to be weighing Trump's effort to overturn the verdict on the basis of presidential immunity until after the election as well.
Presidential immunity. Graham, did the Supreme Court's ruling on that matter have any bearing on the decision today? Will it have any bearing on sentencing or in the November 12th decision from Judge Merchan on whether to dismiss this altogether?
Well, you know, that case, that Supreme Court decision has had a tremendous bearing on the post-trial action in this case. So Trump was convicted of 34 felonies in May. And like you said, we thought he was going to be sentenced on July 11th. But in that interim, the Supreme Court made its decision. And that's when Trump's team told the judge, we're considering filing paperwork to overturn this case, and we want you to delay sentencing. And that caused the first delay to September 18th. Then they filed their paperwork asking for the judge to set aside the verdict. And here's, you know, I think this decision is really a double-edged sword because on the one hand, now again, we're pushing this case, sentencing back till after the election. But the judge also said he's not going to decide that motion either. Originally, he was going to decide whether to set aside the verdict by September 16th. He pushed that back to November. And now that means that for sure, Trump is going to go into the election as a person convicted of felonies. So there's no, if there was some idea that he might have his sentencing overturned before the election, that hope is now gone too.
So, Katrina, today I mentioned that Trump had talked about some of the judges that are overseeing his case. He complimented Judge Cannon in Florida, who, of course, dismissed his classified documents case. Then we have what's happening in D.C., and there was a hearing this week in which both sides came in front of Judge Chutkan to decide how to go about the election interference case. What can you tell us to sort of wrap up what Trump is still to face?
So, yeah, I was there yesterday at that hearing with Judge Tanya Chutkan, and this is now the case which has been on hold for over a year, which is starting up again against Donald Trump. And what the judge decided she wants to do is she's allowing the prosecution to begin with a comprehensive opening brief on the issue of presidential immunity. And what's interesting about that, Lindsay, is the prosecution says that there's going to be potential new evidence in that filing. So even though we're not getting a trial in that case before the election, we could have new information about Donald Trump come to light through this brief.
Graham Cates and Katrina Kaufman, thank you both so much for joining us on this breaking news.